Namaskar, friends. Good morning. I am Vinod Agarwala, Chairman of this 23rd Annual General Meeting of your company. It is my privilege to welcome all shareholders to this meeting. We are holding this meeting AGM virtually. It is hosted on infrastructure provided by NSDL and in compliance with Companies Act 2013, read with specific circulars dated 8th April 20, 13th April 20, 5th May 20, 13th January 21, and 5th May 22, issued by Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India. Mr. Santosh Sharma informed me that quorum is present, so I call the meeting to order. As required under the law, Chairman of Audit and Nomination Committee, statutory auditors and secretarial auditors are also present. I welcome other directors on the board of your company to the 23rd Annual General Meeting. Please allow me to introduce them to you. Mr. Bhaswar Mukherjee, who retired a few years ago as a Director of Finance of PSU Navratna HPCL, is Chairman of Audit Committee and the Stakeholder Relationship Committee of your company. His contribution to ensuring that your company continues to maintain the highest standard of corporate governance at IRS cannot be overstated.
Good morning. I am Bhaswar Mukherjee, an independent director in the board of the company. I am joining this AGM from Navi Mumbai. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhaswar Dada. What makes a company great is the financial and commercial success it has to show. This comes from how strong sales organization is. Ashok Venkatramani is a veteran marketeer who has served companies like Hindustan Unilever, ABP News Network, and Z Media Corporation in leadership positions. He is the chairman of Nomination and Remuneration Committee and Corporate Social Responsibility of your company. Ashok, you are on mute. Please introduce yourself. Okay, while Ashok comes, I'll proceed further. Over the past year, the company's board has been greatly strengthened with the induction of Dr. Hasib Drabu, a former chairman of J&K Bank and a former finance minister of Jammu and Kashmir. Dr. Drabu is well-known economist just in India, but the world over. His contribution as a member of GST Council is well known. With keen ability to anticipate future, he chairs the Committee on Risk of your company. He is chairman of Risk Management Company of your company.
Good morning, everybody. This is Hasib Drabu joining the AGM of Iris Business Services Limited from Mumbai, Maharashtra. Thank you.
Ashok, please introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. This is Ashok Venkatramani, Independent Director at the Iris Business Services. I'm joining in for this AGM from my office in Mumbai. Thank you.
Okay, now I would like whole-time directors to introduce themselves.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I am PKX Thomas, full-time director and CTO of the company. I am joining this AGM from Kochi today.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Deepta Rangarajan, a whole-time director at Iris Business Services. I'm joining the meeting from Iris's office in Navi Mumbai today, the AGM. Thank you.
Good morning, dear shareholders. I'm Balachandran, whole-time director and CFO of Iris Business Services Limited. I'm joining the AGM of the company from our offices in Vashi, Navi Mumbai. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Swaminathan. I'm CEO of the company, joining the AGM from our offices in Navi Mumbai. Thank you very much.
Thank you, whole-time directors. As I have already mentioned, I am Vinod Agarwala. We also have Mr. Santosh Sharma, Company Secretary, Mr. Vineet Kandoi, Financial Controller, and several members of the leadership joining from their respective locations. Representative of Statutory Auditors, KKC and Associate LLP, and Secretarial Auditor Preeti J. Seth and Associates who are present. Now some announcements which are mundane and boring but statutorily required, so you'll have to bear with me. The notice convening this meeting of the Board of Directors has already been emailed to all shareholders and may be taken as read. The Statutory Auditor KKC and Associates LLP, the Secretarial Auditor Preeti J. Seth and Associate have both expressed unqualified opinion in their respective audit reports for the financial year 22-23. There are no qualifications, observation, or adverse comments on financial statement and matters. The report is at pages 105 and 175 of the annual report. Secretarial Auditor report is also enclosed at page number 75 of annual report. Corporate governance report is enclosed as Annexure 8 at page number 80 of the annual report. The instructions for joining AGM are provided in the notice of AGM under note 21. We have received requests from several members to speak at this AGM today, and I would expect them to ask tough and provocative questions. We will call out their names when the time comes. I request the speakers to be brief and to the point. Members can also raise query by clicking raise hand on option on Zoom platform. Request all attendees to introduce themselves before asking questions. The management will answer all questions received before the close of proceedings today. As you can appreciate, this is an innovation by the company to enhance quality of shareholder participation during this virtual AGM. I urge members to take advantage of it. The company has provided facility for voting by electronic means to all its members to enable them to cast their votes electronically so that business may be transacted through such e-voting. For this purpose, company has tied up with NSDL for facilitating voting through electronic means. The facility has been provided to all persons who are members of company as on 4th August 23 being the cutoff date for vote on all 5 resolutions set out in the notice of AGM. Members attending the AGM today who have not cast their vote by remote e-voting are entitled to exercise their right to vote by e-voting. Mrs. Preeti J. Associate, Company Secretary, has been appointed by board as a scrutinizer for e-voting at this AGM. The result of e-voting will be declared in due course after considering the e-voting done by today by members participating in this AGM and the remote e-voting already done by certain members. The result, along with the scrutinizer report, shall be submitted to stock exchanges, that is BSE and NSE, and will also be placed on website of the company. As the meeting is convened through VC today, resolution have already been put to vote through remote e-voting, and the requirement to propose in second is not relevant. The performance of your company is included in director reports and management discussion and analysis. Dear shareholders, in past 2 meetings, I have addressed you on women empowerment and effect of COVID and the effect of how company has dealt with. Today, I will talk about artificial intelligence or AI. Given the profound impact it promises to have on all our lives, I decided to make artificial intelligence and its impact the focus of my comments today. Before I put pen to the paper to draft my comments, I thought I would do something fun. So I asked ChatGPT, what impact AI would have on the fortunes of your company? I discussed discovered to my amazement that ChatGPT did not even know what business your company is in. I must confess that I was stumped. For a starter, ChatGPT told me our company is primarily in BPO business, which it is not. Clearly, someone needs to tell ChatGPT that IRIS has come a long way from its days as KPO and pivoted into compliance software provider. I then proceeded to reframe my question. I asked ChatGPT how AI would affect the business for compliance software, which, as you are all aware, is the business of IRIS. This time, I got some answer that looked more meaningful. The company management too has been telling the board something similar. It was hugely reassuring to know that managers of your company are on top of the situation. Let me assure you that AI does not pose an existentialist crisis to your company. That is not to say that we can ignore it. No, we won't. It is certainly important for the company to embrace AI, recognizing the importance and embed AI in our offerings. You will be reassured to know that that is exactly what company has been doing for past several years. Allow me to start with basics. As you are aware, your company operates through three business segments, each with its own dynamics, each with its own characteristics. It will therefore be meaningful to assess the impact of artificial intelligence on each of them separately. Before I get talking about how we see AI affecting each of the segments, permit me to give you a peek into what AI is all about. To put it simply, when a piece of computer software is used to deliver on tasks that have been otherwise been performed by human, drawing upon their ability to discern, that is a case of AI at work. When talking about AI on their website, Coursera, the global online education provider, has sought to divide AI into four types, two of which currently are in vogue, the other two not. The two that don't exist today are theory of mind and self-awareness. These two strands, which built out, would pose serious external existentialist threat to the human race. It is said that when AI reaches the theory of mind stage, it will be about systems that will understand human with thoughts and emotions and consequent behavior. Add a layer of awareness to this, and we will be at the final stage where we will have machines ruling the world. I cannot imagine what role humans will have in that kind of world. It is there important to approach the whole issue of AI rollout judiciously. Coursera identifies first stage as reactive AI. In this stage, a machine that has been fed a lot of data is able to analyze all of it quickly and throw a better, deeper insight than human can come up with. Reactive AI systems are task-specific and have no memory. Given that no data is stored, they do not have a self-learning mechanism and therefore they are limited in scope. Also, with no data stored, and you could say that this is here and now approach, you could say that this is impulsive in nature, much like humans. It enables only reaction and by design, a response which is not well thought out. Your company has been working with reactive AI for more than 20 years now, except that it was not referred to as reactive AI when they started working with it. This has been used to generate articles analyzing financials of the companies. The second classification of AI is one step, but a giant step ahead of reactive AI, given that data is also stored for software to interact with. You may have heard expression deep learning. That is what the second strand is all about. Naturally, this is a huge improvement on reactive AI. A fine example of this is that when you have encountered when traveling through several airports in recently launched Digi Yatra facilities, you upload your boarding pass in advance, and when you show up at the airport, The machine takes your picture to verify your identity and waves you through. Another example is when you visit a website and it recommends something to you based on what you may have done in the past or are doing presently. The machine learns from the footprint that your data has left behind and suggests to you a course of action for your consideration. Self-driving cars too work with deep learning algorithms. They need to work with a lot of data coming from external environment, including traffic in the vicinity, to be able to choose the best course of action. Here at IRIS, when our product Iris Carbon recommends a tag for the flyer to use for certain element, that would be an example of AI at work. The recommendation is made based on not just the flyer section of the past, but also that of countless other offers. There is on the enterprise's end of the things. At regulators' end, our client need to glean deep insight as possibly can from submission made by flyers. Oftentimes, if the flyer submission need to be combined with other data to come up with actionable insight, deep learning comes into play. Can the proliferation of AI drive us out of business? Could there be new providers of compliances solution who may be able to leverage AI to drive us out of business? Or could customer in an AI-driven world find ways to meet compliance requirement without using our software? What if we reach a stage when data does not have to be structured at the source, but where the flyer just provides a data dump for the recipient to be able to make sense of using AI tools? There will always be need for software of some kind or the other. I do not see a world where we get this disintermingling so completely we are out of business. What we would have to come up with new world is a different set of tools. In fact, I am of the firm conviction that by operating across the entire information chain, we will be always able to find one or more roles, even if we get disintermediated out of one. The buzzword you will hear in context of generative AI, which we are working to bundle in our offerings. The use of generative artificial intelligence would enhance capability of our tools. AI capable tool will help generate content using generative models. These models will learn the patterns and structure of their input training data and then generate new data that has similar characteristics. The success of this is pre-dedicated on availability of large amount of data, which with passage of time will become a reality. While AI may be able to do a lot, I'm not sure if we reach 100% accuracy of filing the automated world that AI promises. From ambiguity of data definition to measurement, from deliberate obfuscation to negligence, there is much to contend with it before it poses threat that any of us need to be terrified about. Now I request Mr. Swaminathan to address the shareholders.
Thank you very much, Vinodji. I think if you've seen the annual report and seen the recent statements, the year gone by has been wonderful for us. We've come out of our crisis completely. Even I'm getting paid now, and all dues of everybody has been cleared. I want to make a particular note of the contribution of the board. I think that the strength that we got from having a stable board of eminent people who, you see, when a company is in a crisis, getting such good people on the board is always difficult. And having them have the courage of conviction to be on the board is even more difficult. So I deliberately, consciously, on behalf of Deepta Balu and I, want to place on record a deep sense of appreciation to our board for the solid backing they gave us, unwaveringly. I want to thank Vinodji, I want to thank Pashmada, I want to thank Ashok, I want to thank Haseeb. Coming on the board of a crisis-ridden company is often puts you in a dilemma. You've been requested by somebody who you know you can't say no to. At the same time, you're worried as to what will happen if the company doesn't do well. Actually relieved that we have come out of the crisis and that we've created something that you can now safely say has come out under your guidance. It's as much your contribution as it is our contribution. So honestly, thank you very much, Vinodji. Thank you very much, Bharshada. Thank you very much, Ashok. Thank you very much, Haseeb. Haseeb is the baby in the company, baby on the board. He's the latest intern on the board. And for him to agree, again, when he came on board, we were still in the crisis, but we still are out of it now. So thank you. I mean, that's the most important thing I actually say. What I do want to also mention is the significant change that we're making in the direction of the company going forward. And this is a very significant change. Till now, we were completely mandate driven. When you're mandate driven, you're waiting for the mandate to happen for you to be able to get revenues into the company. So when a regulator issues a mandate for an XBRL filing, you go and bid for it, and then you have a good chance of winning it. You may also lose it, and that affects your revenues. Or even if you're not part of the regulatory filing platform, when a mandate comes out, you provide filing tools to companies, to enterprises, for them to use to make their filings. The conscious decision that we have made in the last couple of years, which has now come to fruition, is the launch of the disclosure management tool, which Deepta will talk about, which basically takes us away from being a prisoner of a mandate to basically creating a situation where the revenues are more predictable and we will grow on the dint of our own strength as opposed to just a mandatory support. I liken it to something like a Chandrayaan, where basically you have this rocket that takes the payload up, and at some point the rocket goes away and the payload keeps going up. So it's a lot like that, and I hope we achieve as good results as Chandrayaan hopefully we also achieve. But that's the significant change in the direction of the company. It's not a huge change in one way. It's a fundamental change in that it's no longer going to be driven only by mandates. That's an extremely important pivot, if you want to call it, in the company. That's basically what I want to alert you to. I think something more will come out of it going forward. So with Chairman's permission, I will ask Deepta to just spend some time on the DM so that people are aware as to what I'm talking about. Over to Deepta.
Yes, please go ahead, Deepta ji.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So the disclosure management solution is an adjacency to what we are doing in the XBRL space. It is also targeted at the office of the CFO, while the XBRL solution, the XBRL part of Iris Carbon, allows the office of the CFO to take the reports that are created and give them a digital overlay, which is XBRL, and file with the regulator. The disclosure management is one step backward. It allows them to collaborate and create that report. So that is the in one sense it's a slight shift. In another sense, it actually opens up an address. Is as a disclosure launched this new offering or solution. So just a couple of things again in context. We have always had a disclosure management solution, but the reason we are emphasizing it now is that this variant of the disclosure management solution is based on Office 365. It's Microsoft based, Microsoft Word and Excel, which is what is the default tools, let me call it like that are used within the office of the CFO. So this has been launched. Early customers have started using the disclosure management solution as well, based upon the early feedback, just like we have done in the past as well. We get the feedback. We are very agile in bringing it back into the solution and building the next flavor or the added features that are relevant for the customers. And so it's out in the market with our very first customer in Eastern Europe, a second customer in Italy. We have a third customer in South Africa, and we are set to take this to all of our existing customer base in US and Europe, as well as to new audiences, which is the broader office of the CFO, including listed and unlisted companies.
Mr. Chairman, if I may just add to what Deepta actually said, beyond the 3 paying customers we have, we also have about 50 odd users of the product who are giving us feedback in terms of how to improve the product. And I think that's extremely significant. I also want to express my gratitude to a shareholder who I think at the last AGM or the previous AGM actually asked me a question about the significance of the Microsoft tie-up as far as this product is concerned. And I must confess very honestly that the significance of it at that point in time escaped me, which I now see as an important driving force as far as this product is concerned. So an AGM is not only a meeting for us to talk, it's also a place for us to learn from our own shareholders. And I forget which shareholder actually mentioned it. I'm hoping he's here because I really owe him a debt of gratitude for pointing to me in the direction. So we use the AGM as a learning platform for us. And Chairman sir, with your permission, I also want to bring in one more person to this call at this point in time, because she's been at the forefront of using AI in one of the products. So Shilpa, if you're there, if you can just talk about how we are deploying AI in the context of our GST solutions, if you could please talk about it, Shilpa.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead, Shilpa. You're on mute. Unmute.
Am I audible now?
Yes, Shilpa, you are.
Yeah. So we have been actually using AI, if I can say, since GST actually started in 2017. And in the, I think, welcome note of chairman, we heard different stages of AI. It starts from reactive deep learning, and now we are going into generative AI. So I'll give you examples of, I think, both of these, what we are doing. So first is, right now in GST filings, what happens is companies need to do a lot of matching of their data with what is there with the government set of records. And all this matching has to be done in a very short period of time, because then they have to make arrangements for cash and ensure that they are making best use of the credit. So this is one big area of operations for all the businesses. And if larger the business, larger the volume of invoices, this becomes a very critical activity. So in this space particularly, we have been using a lot of AI to ensure best matches happen, like what documents are there with the company versus what the government records are. So this matching logic is what we've been improving since since 2017 now, and now with new things coming up with large data that is there with us, we are able to give more accurate and more better results. And our aim here is to give more and more results, so that companies get more time to spend on their working rather than just finding where the matches are. And going forward here, recommended actions, like if there is match, send emails to your vendors and all. Those will be the next stages that will happen in the case of in case of GST return filing that we're looking at. And second is litigations. Now this is becoming more important now, because government is also using AI, and they are sending automated notices. So companies are getting notices if there are any differences in data, or if they have not paid tax on time, or not as the expected amount is there. So here we are now, and all these notices and all what come to from government is in PDF documents. And these PDF documents, sometimes they are structured, sometimes they are really dynamic, because they want to cover everything that is, say, as per section number this, as per this reason, and this is the amount, this is by this time frame you need to respond to the notices. So all this is part of the notice. So here we are making use of generative AI, which is what typically in chat GPT world is what we hear. Using this generative AI here, we are extracting the information to first classify all the notices, because once these notices are classified, as a business, I will come to know, okay, these notices I need to just respond, say, within 7 days of time. These notices I may need to pay additional taxes. These notices I may need to go back and see what all I have, what invoices I have considered, how I have computed the data. So the first stage here is using AI to classify the notices. Subsequently, once we have classified the notices, now also suggesting the response, because we know what are the categories. And then the next stage for us will be to draft automated notices, and also because we have the data and we have the notice, combining the two together. So these are two, I think, major areas where we are using all different types of AI in our applications.
Shilpa, thank you. Chairman, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Swaminathan. Now I take up item number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the business as detailed in notice convening 23rd annual general meeting. The item number 1 refers to adopting annual audited financial statement, standalone and consolidated, of the company for the period ended 31st March 2023, and the report of Board of Directors and auditors thereon. Item number 2 is reappointment Mr. Swaminathan Subramaniam, who retires by rotation and being eligible has offered himself for reappointment. Item number 3, 4, and 5 are respectively about appointment of Mr. Swaminathan, Mrs. Deepta, and Balachandran Krishnan, and their remuneration, which will be fixed by the board from time to time in accordance with law. Now we have list of shareholders who have registered as a speaker shareholder with the company and who would like to speak on financial statement, ask question. I now request Mr. Sanjeev Yadav from NSDL to call the shareholders.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. Now I will call shareholders by turn to speak. All the shareholder members are requested to be in brief in order to give chance to other members. Now I request Mr. Anil Mehta to ask questions. Chairman, sir, Anil Mehta, sir, has not joined the meeting. With your permission, we are moving on to the next speaker.
Yeah, go ahead.
Our next speaker is Mr. Rohit Putti. Rohit, sir, you can proceed ahead with the question, please.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity and congratulations on a very good set of numbers and coming out of the crisis. I have a few questions across the segments of the company and on the speech by the chairman as well. So, in the last conference call, we had a discussion on the South African deal in Collect, which I believe is a major deal for the company. So, is it possible to share the contours of the deal below? And connecting to that, could we speak more about the Collect pipeline today beyond the two mandates that we got, mandates which are closer to fruition? Third, on disclosure management, could we have? I mean, it was very nicely put. It's really exciting to know that we are going beyond mandate to more recurring sort of or a higher quality sort of revenues, which is not dependent on mandate. So, if you could share details on, I mean, are we replacing a solution here like we are doing with carbon across in US SEC, or is it an entirely new industry or need that you have figured out and you're solving a problem for, or are we winning customers from others? How is the pricing? How large is the market? Because I would have assumed that only a listed company would require a DM solution, but I believe you mentioned both listed and unlisted will use DM solution. So could you give us more details on this space and how will it contribute to something to our Create business down the line? So coming to the Create business, I believe right now the three major sources of revenue, which is GST, ESMA filing and SEC filing are three major sources, is how I see it, or I might be wrong here. So what are the major sources of growth in this segment going forward? How major can disclosure management be? And what are the other sources, if there are any? Could you also speak about the India's business prospects? We have been very strong with GST, but with the new developments like e-invoicing, HiloBiz partnership, etc., what do you think can happen here? The next question is generally the growth rate of the company. I'm not asking for a specific number, but in response to a recent shareholders' questions, the answer given by the company was that we will grow beyond the industry growth rate. But what is the industry growth rate? Like, what is the industry growth rate that you're referring to here? What is the number that we should benchmark the company against? So that clarity would be helpful if that can be shared. On AI, would it be right in thinking that if a good part of the work is done by AI, the value per filing for us can come down because the initial part can be done by AI? As Chairman said, the vague or ambiguous data, it would need human intervention. But if the initial part of the work can be done by AI, and we come in to resolve only the ambiguous sections which can be highlighted by AI, does that mean that our pricing will be hit going forward in that case? And ESG was something which we were speaking about quite a lot in the last couple of years. So, is there any progress on that in ESG filing? How are we seeing that going forward? And could we speak specifically about changes that have been brought in after Mr. Thomas came in as the CTO of the company? What new products are in pipeline, and how are we going about that going forward? My last two questions are. In the last conference call, we spoke about pricing pressure, which seemed to indicate that there is competition. I mean, my assumption was that we were a high quality, reasonable cost producer, and if there is pricing pressure in carbon going forward, that would indicate that there is more competition that we expected. So, could we speak about that as well? And the last question is on capital raising in general. How are we placed there, and what are we thinking? What is the board thinking about that over the next year or so? Thank you so much. It's a long list. I'm really sorry, but thank you so much for the patient hearing.
Should we take the questions now, Chairman sir?
May take the next speaker first.
Thank you for the question, sir. We will now turn on the Q&A session. I would like to invite the shareholders to raise questions by clicking raise hand option and introduce themselves. After answering questions to the shareholders, and if time permits, I would like to invite the non-speaker shareholders to raise questions by clicking raise hand option and introduce themselves. I will also request Mr. Balachandran sir and Mr. Swaminathan sir to answer the queries raised by the shareholders and non-speaker shareholders. And I request Mr. Balakrishnan sir to hand over the proceedings of the meeting to Chairman sir post answering the queries of the shareholders.
Sanjeevji, I think what we can do is, since Rohit has asked these questions, we can start with Rohit's questions, while other shareholders can decide what to do. So I'm going to start with the easiest part, which is Thomas. Thomas, what has been the changes that you brought about on the technology front following your coming on board? Question for Thomas. Thomas, please unmute yourself and answer the question. The impact of your entry on the company's technology choice, technology infrastructure, technology development, and what have you. Please, Thomas, over to you.
Yeah, most of the work actually, there is a major shift in actually the way we actually started developing our product. Our methodologies we changed. We made it more into a product-driven organization than a project-driven organization. So that's actually the major shift. Technology tools which we use, we have upgraded our skills, etc. But more than the technology tools, the process which we actually do to actually develop the software with the kind of process controls and security controls which is required for the space which we are in. Actually, that is actually those things actually which was actually introduced in the initial stages itself. And we continue to follow that alongside, for example, the DM is actually a typical example there, where we followed all the standard and even to make that team more friendly with using newer technologies and friendly with using innovation into the products, and and help that to actually add value to the product. So those things actually we have steps in. Second part is actually the focus on the UI UX. The focus of the UI UX is a major shift from the current way of actually we were working to actually to a level where DM actually has scored number 2 position in actually the usability of the product by the Gartner's G2. So there are 2 major shifts which actually I would say to contributed to the product line. Thank you.
I think, Rohit, our ability to attract good people has also significantly improved. Earlier, we were constantly fighting fires. We are no longer fighting fires. And I think the quality of leadership makes a difference. So I think we owe a huge thank you to Thomas for making those things happen. One of the biggest beneficiaries of Thomas is coming in from a technology point of view, as you keep saying, the DM part. So maybe Deepta can talk about the impact of Thomas coming in on the technology on Iris Carbon.
Sure. So I think with Thomas coming in, there are a few benefits. So one is there is a step up in the way we approach products. I think, like Thomas has said it. So the processes that we adopt, which actually leads to kind of repeatable quality. It leads to consistency and transparency, clear roadmaps that we can kind of share with stakeholders, ability to advance forecast pricing, potential pricing hikes that we may want to do in future based upon new functionalities and features. So it's a bunch of things, but it all starts with just the way we approach processes, people, even the tools that we use, or the way we have kind of integrated UI, UX, etc. So I think the biggest beneficiary or the starting beneficiary for this is very visible in carbon and in the disclosure management. And like Swami said, the biggest thing also is just the ability to provide much stronger leadership to the technical or the engineering team or pool, which is also making a very big difference. So we're seeing this just as the start, because I think there is plenty more to to do or to achieve. Of course, there is also on the security side and the security aspect. So all of those have become visible insofar as Iris Carbon and the Iris Carbon disclosure management is concerned. Thank you.
And Thomas comes with a large company experience that I think we desperately need, which I think has been useful. The other aspect of Thomas is coming in is our willingness to recruit in a slightly different way from before. For example, right now, we have recruited two kids in Bhutan who work out of Bhutan. So I don't rule out the possibility that over the next 3, 4, 5 years, we will actually create a virtual network of people who are employed on Irish roles working from their own respective countries. And that's part of the growth that you will actually see going forward. So the ability to execute on such recruitment is again predicated on having significant technology leadership of the kind that we have with Thomas right now. So from Thomas, I will go on to the previous question that you asked before, Thomas, which is about the impact of AI in terms of pricing pressure. Rohit, when have you heard of a company embracing technological automation and passing on the benefits to a customer? I think it happens in the breach, quite literally, and it happens because of competitive pressure. So very often when automation of this kind actually happens, Rohit, you will actually find companies taking advantage of it to improve their own profitability. And that's the first area where there will be an impact. Now, subsequently, there are multiple companies in the same space who are able to offer superior products and automate things. And there is a pricing pressure on account of that. Then the whole market will actually move down. But the mere availability of a technology, the mere adoption of AI, I don't think will in the short run lead to a pricing pressure in the market, unless some company comes along which basically says, I will use pricing as a competitive tool to go and gain market share. So when you look at the various companies in the market on the regulatory filing side, there are only so many. And it's our assessment that most of them will not necessarily do it. Though, of course, we have asked the board on whether we should use pricing as a tool to go and grab more market share. But at the same time, the compliance market is a reasonably inelastic market where CFO will not switch because something is 10% cheaper. It doesn't work like that. So I don't think a competitive pressure on account of adoption of new technology will actually come in the area of pricing. I hope that answers the question as far as your AI is concerned. And the question that you asked about DM, is it new or leveraging existing stuff? So if you take a look at the way we are looking at DM, currently, so if you look at DM, we're still calling it Iris Carbon. So why are we calling it Iris Carbon? So we actually see it as an adjacency to Iris Carbon. Currently, how did this start? Iris Carbon in America was being used for creating two different kinds of filings, XBRL filings and HTML filings. So Iris Carbon already served two purposes, XBRL format filings and HTML format filings. Then we went one step beyond and said, are there other kinds of filing that we can actually bring in that could could actually come up, which can also be used on the same platform? So the ESG filings came up. So for which, as you know, Gap used our platform to do their ESG filings. So we now believe that the DM platform is an adjacent product to our XBRL platform. It's part of the same platform. The 6,200 plus enterprises that we actually serve for their compliance filings are logically customers also of DM, potentially customers of DM. And if you can convert a significant amount of them, I think it's a great possibility. I think Deepta's got more clarity on this. I'll let Deepta handle the question in terms of the adjacent opportunities that come on account of having a DM.
Thank you. So I think, Rohit, you had asked kind of a question on how large is this opportunity, and you said it's a good thing to know we're kind of going beyond mandates. Are we replacing other solutions? So first, just to give you a sense of the market size, there are several studies, but the disclosure management market is estimated to be roughly about 800 to 900 million, to grow to 1.8 billion by 2028-29. So it's a big, large market. Within this market, software is the biggest chunk. And within software, SaaS software is the fastest growing. So that's the quadrant we are in on the disclosure management side. There are many companies. So, for example, like I mentioned, the sells to the office of the CFO. There are many companies in the office. There are many companies both listed and unlisted. Now, when we say unlisted, there are companies which are in the $200 million to $1 billion range, which are also unlisted. By the way, the North American market is considered the largest market for disclosure management, followed by Europe. Asia is considered a very fast-growing market. So this is just kind of the lay of the land. Happy to share some of these reports. Now, here, are we in a replacement market? Not necessarily. It's still early days. It's still early days for us. But for example, we ran a survey among our European existing customers to ask them whether they have anything in the disclosure management space, whether they are looking for something in the disclosure management space. So the whole premise over here, or the value proposition, is efficiency, time saving. The current process of collaborating and creating a report it's pretty inefficient. So it's like that classic, different people working on different desktops with different spreadsheets and source systems being somewhere else, like ERPs and connectors. So this brings it all together in one place. So, many of them are looking for a disclosure management solution that don't necessarily have. Some of them have a disclosure management solution, but are looking to see what else is out there in the marketplace. So we would assume it's going to be a combination of both. But we are heading out into the marketplace in a larger way right now, both through our existing customer base as well as through partnerships, which is always how we have done it in the past. So the coming months will kind of reveal this. We believe that the way we pitch and sell to the office of the CFO is going to be kind of different from the way we pitch and sell, obviously, in a mandate driven. So all of that are the early learnings that we are now beginning to get to try and kind of get the ducks in a row, align the pieces so that we are able to get the right playbooks, how to pitch, how to sell, and how to scale at this particular market opportunity. But two of our partners have already have for a while been asking us, saying that if you had an Office 365 based disclosure management solution as opposed to HTML, which we had, we can see a large potential among our customer base as well as those that are not impacted by mandate. So that's how the trigger came, like a few years ago. And of course, the fact that we already had an HTML based disclosure management. So long answer, but.
Thank you, Deepta. Gautam, if you're there, will you please take the question on the India opportunity and the e-invoicing opportunity? I think you are best placed to answer that question. Gautam, as many of you may know,
Sure.
heads our GST business, and he has the best perspective on this segment.
Sure. Just wanted to check, am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So Rohit, specifically asking about the e-invoicing mandate and opportunity. E-invoicing, as you must be aware, has got rolled out in a phase-wise manner from 500 crores, and from 1st August it's come down to 5 crores. The first wave of opportunity that we actually worked on or capitalized was working directly with these large taxpayers and build our e-invoicing platform. And now to cater to the very long tail of these small taxpayers, government themselves have appointed private IRPs, and which must be aware that IRIS is one of them. So we have gone live with the other private IRPs also. And from 1st of August, so we are actually now targeting this very long tail of very small taxpayers who are looking for a more seamless, simple digital solution to comply to the requirement. And our understanding of being in the market is that these small taxpayers are actually willing to pay for value-added services, and that's what our mandate with GSTN is also, that we can't charge for the core basic e-invoicing services that we offer, but we can take consent, store data, and provide value-added services. So what do we mean by value-added services? It is actually storing these invoices, providing a personalized experience, generating payment links, making collections faster, sending the reminder for collections, a better collaboration between the buyers and sellers. And over there, while we have built some solutions on our own on top of the platform, we are also looking at our collaboration with HiloBiz, which offers these kind of solutions via an app, which is the cash, and they call it as the cash commerce and eventually underlying credit which will be powered. So we are now looking at tackling the cash and the collections problem through through our partnership with Hylobis. It was in a POC mode where we launched the app in a very in a beta mode with a couple of customers in Gujarat, and now we've integrated with one of the ERP players and would be looking at expanding that. And the second channel for Hylobis would be getting the Iris IRP customers who are generating e-invoices, and we'll be upselling our VAS solutions, pitching the Hylobis through the Hylobis app. So I think I covered both the Hylobis and e-invoicing question that you had, or anything else that you're looking for.
That's okay, Gautam. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll now ask Balu to take the question on the South African deal as well as the collect pipeline.
Hi, Rohit. Specifically on the South African deal, obviously it is a fairly significant deal for us. We mentioned that in the conference call as well. The full contracting process is not complete. There are multiple contracts, one on the licenses, the software licenses, other one is on the implementation side. Work is on. We expect to complete this maybe over this month as well, this month itself. But having said that, if you look at our annual report, you would see that our order book has gone up. We are now talking about, at least as on June, we are talking about 120 crores of order book, of which a good part should come from the South African, Reserve Bank deal that we are currently in the process of, starting out. In fact, the execution has started. Some billing has also happened. So that's a good position for us to be in. And in terms of its full contours, I would say that the order book that we are showing in our annual report might not fully capture the scale of what we could be building over a period of, let's say, 4 to 5 years. So I would stop at that as far as the South African deal is concerned. The collect pipeline, in terms of RFPs, there is movement there. We are talking to a couple of regulators. With one COSE regulator, we ought to be closing something over the next couple of months, which is not significant from a size perspective, but it's an adjacent area which could help us substantially going forward in terms of rolling out solutions in that domain as well. Overall, I would say that as we mentioned in the past as well, there is some vigorous activity happening among regulators for movement into the digital platforms, and we hope to make the most of it going forward.
So, Rohit, to add to what Balu said, many regulators are now waking up and trying to get into the space and trying to improve their regulatory filing platforms. There are multiple tenders that are floating around. We're bidding on a few. We're not bidding on a few. So we are confident that some of those things will actually materialize in our favor. Some of them won't. I think it's too early to tell which one will happen, which one will not happen. But I think regulators waking up is a very significant sign as far as we are concerned. That's one part. Now, on the capital raise plan, I think the rights is more or less buried. So what we basically said is now that the company's performance has improved significantly, and we are well poised to grow from here in a much stronger fashion. So we are now saying, why don't we now raise money by maybe issuing a convertible with performance 18 months forward in accordance with SEBI rules. So that's the current thinking as far as we are concerned. And at the right time, once something looks like close to finalization, we'll actually come with the details of what we plan to do and how we plan to do it. So we are fully aware and cognizant that we need to raise money. We are fully aware and we are fully committed to raising money. But I think the rights issue for all practical purposes is buried. The approach is going to be to find investors who are willing to put money in through a convertible linked to performance 18 months forward, which hopefully also tells you of our optimism in terms of how we see the future going forward. The question on the growth rate of the company, if you ask three of us, you'll get three different numbers. If you ask each segment, you will ask different, you'll get completely different numbers. So instead of and yes, I'm aware that in that entity, we basically said that we'll grow more than industry. And you know fully well that we don't operate in one industry. In the industry that we operate called Collect, which is where the regulatory filing happens, that has one set of growth rates. In the carbon space, it's a different set of growth rates. In the consumer space, we really don't nothing of any consequence. Therefore, the growth rates will be very, very different. So I think to lump it all into one number may not be very, very meaningful. But if you saw the last quarter itself, if you look at the previous corresponding quarter, the growth has not been bad at all. And so I think we are optimistic that we will grow faster than the industry, even in the absence of mandates. I think with the DM coming in, that also should significantly add to our growth rates going forward. And beyond that, I'm not going to stick my neck out and give you a number at this point in time. You asked a question about pricing pressure. I don't know what you're talking about specifically. And there is always pricing pressure. There's always pricing pressure in every product. When a new player comes in, they always want to do it for free. It's happened in the GST space. It's happened in every other space. Fortunately, in the markets where we operate, pricing pressure has not been something that, as it's now more or less a steady state in India. I think globally, pricing pressure has leveled to a loss of customers. Because if pricing pressure was an important factor, we should be able to offer a lower price and steal customers from Workiva. That's not happening, and that won't happen. Because I think the compliance space is one where once the CFO's office ties up with a certain vendor, they stay with them for eternity unless something royally wrong goes wrong. You asked a question about ESG progress. Balu, you want to take the question? The progress on the ESG mandate, where do we stand?
Overall, globally, you might have noticed that there is momentum on the ESG mandates. For example, the International Sustainability Standards Board has come out with the first set of standards. They have been recently endorsed by IOSCO, which is the Association for Capital Market Regulators as well, International Association. So we expect there are two areas where we see action. One is with regulators themselves. They could be starting to collect the ESG information. And we expect that to happen in XBRL as well, because the ISSB, which is the standard setting body, also has a XBRL taxonomy for expressing sustainability information. So we do see, action on the regulator front for collecting ESG data going forward. That's been rolled out. Jurisdictions have to frame the rules, but that should happen over the next couple of years. On the enterprise side, of course, we have the XBRL reporting engine, and we are combining that with the disclosure management solution. And these two fits in well with the overall ESG data collection and the report assembly as well. So we see this as an important module that we will add on top of our IRIS Carbon when you go and speak to enterprises for creating the ESG reporting supply chain as well.
So Rohit, ESG will be a module within the DM. Did you want to add to that? ESG being a module within the DM?
Sure. So I think like Balu indicated, if you look at IRIS Carbon now, if you look at the two broad modules, one is disclosure management, which is authoring, and one is XBRL, which is a digital layer. And the ESG mandates that will be rolling out or will be announced will require creation of sustainability reports or ESG reports, either as a part of the overall, kind of company's annual disclosure or as a separate standalone report. And like Balu also said, when the taxonomy, the ISSB taxonomies are released, then it will also mean translating these sustainability reports into an XBRL format. So both modules, if you can call it that, of IRIS Carbon, will be able to find a play in this ESG reporting space. So we are gearing up to get ready for that as well, overall through the disclosure management and the XBRL modules.
Rohit, we've done the best we can.
Mr. Yadav, anybody else?
No, sir. None of the shareholders have raised their hand. So over to you, Chairman, sir, now.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanjeev, for doing the needful. I also thank Swami, Balu, Tiktaji, Shilpaji, and Rohit, and Gautam to answer the questions so efficiently and clearly. Well done. Since e-voting is mandatory and the company has already made said facility available to the members for all the resolution being transacted in this AGM, there is no requirement for members for proposing or seconding each resolution. Having replied to all questions of the shareholders, I request shareholders who have not already voted to exercise voted to exercise their voting right using e-voting platform of NSDL. The e-voting module of NSDL will be open till 15 minutes after the conclusion of the meeting. And before closing the meeting, I wish you all happy Independence Day. It is also time to remember, honor, and thank those who have struggled, sacrificed, gave their life, limb, and dear ones to give you independence. Namaskar. Thank you all. I now close this general meeting.
Thank you.